Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today as always. Today's topic is going to be deep thinking. Are you a deep thinker? I know I am. I've been accused of thinking too much. Has anyone ever accused you of thinking too much? Well, I found this article, excuse me. I found this article written by, I don't know if I can pronounce this correctly, Lachian Brown. This gentleman wrote this, 15 Undeniable Signs You're a Deep Thinker. So let's see if you're a deep thinker. Sometimes people may tell you, sometimes people may tell you that you think too much or that you need to control your thinking. I've been told those things, but let's see what he has to say about that. Okay, let me see. The deep thinker, the person who is lost in their thoughts and overly anxious, but they'll see future problems before anyone else. Yes, deep thinkers have a tendency to look below the surface appearance to the reason why things are happening. The real reason, not just what appears to be. They think, they look, they observe, they look for the meaning below the surface appearance. This can be good or this can drive you crazy. They reflect constantly and only speak when they have something meaningful to say. While their deep thoughts can distract them from reality at times, and I'll agree to that, deep thinkers always listen to what you have to say because it's another opportunity to learn. They realize that people reflect back to them what their dominant thoughts are. So they're always observing what is coming back to them from their outer world. Because you only see in your world what is going on within you. If it were not within you, you couldn't see it in someone else or out there. Or were you not a part of what is going on out there at one time in your life, or did you not have that characteristic within you, you would not be able to see it in the outer world. Doesn't mean you're doing it now, but you have done it at some time in your past. Well, if you think this sounds like you, you might identify with these 15 items. Number 1, you're introverted. Many deep thinkers are reserved, quiet, and introverted. They're more likely to spend time in their head than out there socializing with others. I spend a lot of time in my head, but I spend a lot of time socializing with others also. And a lot of times while I'm socializing with others, I'm spending time in my head trying to understand the outer world by what's going on. No, trying to understand the inner world by what's going on in the outer world. I had that backwards. In fact, German psychologist Hans, I may butcher this name, Jeinsick, researched the brain of an introvert and found that introverts have naturally high cortisol arousal, meaning their ability to process information per second is higher than the average extrovert. I've always thought an introvert was a person who's afraid to be out in public or not talk to people. And an extrovert was a person who was very outgoing. But I think he says here that that's not always the case, because I'm very extroverted, but then again, I'm always inside my own head, which can be a problem if you don't learn how to control it. They literally process information more deeply in the brain. This means that in heavily stimulated environment, such as large groups of people with loud noises and movements, a deep thinker will most likely get more overwhelmed and exhausted from the brain's cortisol activity. After all, introverts are a special type of person. First, they're not shy. Oh, well, see, that's opposite of what I thought an introvert was. I thought an introvert was a shy person. And I think most people think that. But it says, an introvert is a special type of person. First, they are not shy. They can be very outgoing and be introverted. There is a difference. The difference, although most people don't realize it, is that introverts re-energize in their own way and get their source of energy from within. Extroverts, on the other hand, seek energy from those around them and need interaction to feel most alive. Well, that's strange because when I go out and talk to people, I really feel energized about that. Now, in large groups and crowds, it just depends on the situation. But when I come home from a day of work, from being out talking to people and dealing with people, I like to come home and sit in my room, and I don't want to be bothered for about an hour so I can contemplate the day and what's been going on. You may try some contemplation. That is where you just sit alone. Maybe you can turn on some relaxing music and just contemplate the day's events from an objective point of view to see how things went and how you would like them to be different, and the meaning of your day's events in relation to what is going on inside of you. Because as I said, the outer world is a reflection of the inner world. A lot of people don't believe that, but if you think about what you're thinking about, you will see that that is true. Let's go on and see what he has to say. Deep thinkers are almost always introverted because they require quiet time to focus on their thoughts and give their ideas space and freedom to blossom. I can agree with that. Number 2, you analyze experiences. Yes, and you can be over-analytical. I've done that many times. It's common for a deep thinker to engage in a lot of analysis of past, present, and future experiences. They take facts and experiences from the past and link them with new facts and experiences. Because your past will create your future if you focus too much on your past, especially your emotional past where you may have resentments or shame or anger, guilt, things like that. It will bring the same experiences into your life today if you spend too much time focusing on them. Now, it's okay to look at them, contemplate, and learn from them, but you need to let them go after that. Okay? They like to be nostalgic, but also like to prepare for future from learning from the past. They like to draw a big picture in their heads to see how things connect. Well, I think he meant to say they like to draw a big picture in their heads to see how things connect, because everything is connected. Using a lot of problem-solving skills. Number 3, you look at things from multiple perspectives. And that's something that's difficult for most people to do. They can only see things from their point of view. You have to try to see things from other people's points of view. You have to remember, unless you've walked a mile in someone's shoes, you really don't know why they are the way they are. And had you been raised by the same parents in the same situation and the same environment they were raised in, you may be very much like them. So that's why it's good not to judge, because you don't know what that person has had to go through. And he may be much better today than he was a year ago, or he may be much worse, but you don't know his path. And it's easy for us to judge. I do it. I catch myself doing it all the time. When someone doesn't act the way I want them to or the way I think they should, I judge that as bad. Or when they do what I think they should do, I judge that as good. But all judgment is ridiculous because you can't see the big picture. You don't know. If you have a goal, if you have a vision, if you have a purpose, everything will work to bring you to that vision, to fulfill your purpose in life. But if you don't have one, then you're just like a ship on the ocean without a rudder. Every time this wind comes, you get blown this way and that way, and you will never reach your destination, and you will be frustrated. And what happens when the sailors are out on the ocean years ago and they don't think they're ever going to get anywhere? They want to mutiny. They become restless, irritable, discontent, and afraid. And that's the same thing that will happen to you. You will live in those emotions unless you have a vision and a purpose. So sit down today, write down a goal, Figure out what you're here to do, because you are here to do something great, something magnificent. It may not be the president of the world, the country, or some great man in the world, but it will be great in your experience. And when you find that, you will feel fulfilled. That's where fulfillment comes from, is fulfilling your purpose here on earth. So find out what that is. And how do you do that? Contemplate your life. Look at what goes on in your life. A lot of times people will tell you what your purpose is. Many times people told me that I should write a book or my life should be a movie, and it was 10 years before I actually listened to them and did it. So there you go. People will tell you what you need to do. They can see in you sometimes what you can't see in yourself. Okay, a deep thinker tends to do a lot of observing when other people speak. Observations of social situations, of how people react and perceive, is a strong feature of a deep thinker's personality. They quickly learn multiple ways of seeing things and tend to know how to adapt themselves to better communicate with others. And as I said, if you see something in someone that annoys you or that you admire, you have the same ability, or you have done the same thing that annoys you, or that person is doing. Had you not ever done it, or had you not the capability in you to do it, you would not be able to see it in that other person. When you admire someone, you have an emotional feeling like you think they're great, like some football star or whatever your sport is, and you see them do something great, and you get that feeling, you relate to what they're doing. You have that same capacity in you to do something similarly great as he did. And on the reverse side, if someone is annoying you with something, you need to look within yourself and see where you may be doing that in your life. Because if it's annoying you, it's telling you something. That is a message for you. Think about that. Many times people just want to blame and point the finger. But the old saying is, when you're pointing the finger at someone else, there are 3 fingers pointing back at you. It's very true. Or the other one is, before you pick the speck out of your brother's eye, take the log out of your own eye. All right, let's go on here. 4, you're naturally empathic. And that can be a killer, being empathic. It means you can feel other people's pain, their happiness, their joy. I have seen people driving down the road, and it doesn't happen very often, and you connect with that person, and I can actually feel their pain. I don't know how to explain it. But everybody has that ability. We just get so bombarded from the outside with media, with advertisements, with music, with sound, with noise, with all these other things that distract us from these abilities that we all have within us. You have the same ability to read people. I can tell when someone's lying to me. I can tell it. Now, I may not know exactly what they're lying about, but I feel it. It just comes through. You have the same ability. I'm sure you've talked to someone and you thought, something doesn't feel right about this, but you couldn't really figure out what it is. That's your intuitive guidance. You're picking up on something that isn't congruent with what this person is talking to you about. So these abilities you have, if you can learn to be in touch with them and use them, they can save you from a lot of trouble. We would call them red flags. If you met a girl that you liked, and all of a sudden something didn't feel right about her. What she was saying was not congruent with what you were feeling. Feelings are important. Now, not that as a man you should go out and express them to everyone or be emotional or like a woman, but you need to listen to your emotional guidance system because it knows things that your conscious mind can never pick up on. Okay, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for joining me. Smash that like button, subscribe, share this with a friend, and I will see you tomorrow.